What's the juiciest rumor at your school that turned out to be 100% true? Story 1. Two teachers that were married to each other were sleeping with students. The husband was the first to do it, and the wife found out and slept with some of her students as revenge. Also, the resource officer was sleeping with some of the 18-year-old seniors. All got confirmed when they were fired for it. Well, the teachers got fired. The officer got moved to bicycle patrol. Story 2. We had a Spanish teacher who would keep giving random financial/business advice during classes. One day he tabbed over to his stock trading homepage and accidentally revealed that he was a millionaire. Rumors about his past started circulating. Around graduation, some students found old newspaper articles confirming that he was a former meth dealer who had spent time in jail. Was a seriously cool guy, actually. Story 3. We had a running joke around my school for years. If someone asked, "Could you insert question here?" most people would reply, "I'll do it for a bag of Doritos." This was a school-wide inside joke because a girl was caught sucking this guy's D in the bathroom. Some authority figure had the bright idea of asking why the horny teen would allow this. He said, "She said she would do it for $3 and a bag of Doritos." No one ever saw the girl again, but the guy became a legend. Story 4. My 6th grade math teacher was super creepy. He would assign seats, randomly, but always placed the girls in the front of the classroom. Did the whole lingering stare thing, and was always trying to get people to hang out with him during lunch. I never did, but he was married and has a baby, so no one really suspected him of anything other than being creepy. Fast forward about 7 years. The teacher ended up being a S offender. He had an ongoing relationship with a girl that began when she was 13. Based on what I could see from the various news articles, she was either in my year or the year before me. The police came to arrest him in the middle of his class, cuffed him in front of his students, and then had him walk throughout campus in cuffs to get to their car. I don't feel bad for him at all, but I can't imagine how his wife and son must feel. Story 5. A girl got caught giving her boyfriend a blowjob in one of the stairwells of my high school. The government teacher, one of the most ultra-religious and pure-hearted individuals on earth, was the one who caught them. Ended up in a science class with the girl. She gave an OF that she got caught, and took her legend status like a champ. Still makes me laugh over a decade later. Story 6. The cheerleading team was doing coke off the toilet seats. For everyone saying the tank would be better, maybe my high school was unusual, but we had the same high-power flush toilets like other public bathrooms. They had no tanks. Just the base of the toilet and the seat. Our bathrooms had no doors to the entrance, probably as a deterrent to this behavior, so the counters were a no-go. The toilet paper dispensers were those large circular ones. Believe me, I agree with those of you saying it's gross and idiotic, but there weren't that many alternatives in the bathroom. We weren't allowed to have bags or backpacks with us, so no one carried a purse, and they did it in the middle of class, so bringing a textbook would be suspect. Also, the main offenders were too young to drive, so they didn't have keys necessarily, and this was pre-smartphone and before the average high school student even had a cell phone. Story 7. Resource officer was a child molester and then murdered his wife after he was fired. He fled and they still haven't found him over 10 years later. He's on Marshall's top 15 most wanted list. His name was Dan Hires and his mother thinks he's dead. The computer tech teacher got caught having sex with a student. He was put on suspension while the investigation was conducted. He killed himself by running his car into a tree. Story 8. One kid who was in my history class jacked off in a giant communal pump bottle of ranch dressing the upperclassmen all used. Was heard bragging about it in class, but nobody believed him until it got back to a teacher, and they tested the dressing and lo and behold, jizz was present. Lots of scarred teenagers and lots of amused ones. Story 9. There was a rumor that our female English teacher was sleeping with the starting QB, and that her youngest child was not her husband's, but the QB's. She was caught sleeping with a different one of her students years later, and it is now known she has slept with a number of former students, including the QB. Now people really think her youngest kid isn't her husband's. Story 10. Teacher from my high school. Girls were creeped out by him and constantly reported him for making them uncomfortable. He was quite obese, belly hung to knees, so the school and other students wrongly assumed these girls were being rude. 6 years later he's in prison after being caught with child pee on his computer. Alongside upskirt photos of girls from my school. Story 11. Probably not the juiciest thing, but the one I remember because of how I found out. A few of our high school library's walls were weird. Sort of a lowercase b shape. So there was this empty space behind the bookshelves up against the walls. Tunnels, basically. Word was, students were in there. I worked in the library. Had to move the shelves, clean the tunnels, found used condoms. It was an all-boys school at the time, if that matters. Mind, the condoms weren't the worst thing, really. The leftover food debris in there was worse, stuff like chicken bones. Story 12. Our math teacher in high school had a student teacher she was helping train to take over for her when she went on maternity leave. The student teacher was maybe 20 to 21, and a fairly attractive young woman. So naturally all the guys in the class had a crush on her. One guy in particular was a super senior, and 18 to 19. He flirted with her nonstop, and she would act super embarrassed and blush, and in a non-committal way tell him to knock it off. I'm sure you see where this is going. Well, towards the end of the semester he was bragging about going on a date with her, and how they went to the movies, then he went back to her place, and they had sex. We all thought he was full of shit. But the rumor got around the school, and of course the teachers and faculty found out. Then one day she has just gone. And we had substitute teachers for the rest of the semester. We all knew what happened. Looking back, it's kind of a shame that she probably wrecked her future teaching career of him. Story 13. We had 2 girls in our class that played a game to seduce a teacher. They did the usual, staying after class to get him alone, wore inappropriate clothes that showed too much skin, touched him a lot, sat in his lap, laughed obnoxiously at any joke he made, etc. Girl A told Girl B she was tired of playing the game after about a month, so she wanted to stop, and they seemingly did. But Girl A was actually sleeping with the guy since like the second week. Girl A told Girl B about the situation, and not knowing what to do, Girl B told her mom. When the time came around for the teacher to be confronted, Girl A killed herself, so that the teacher wouldn't be charged. The mother felt so bad she didn't tell the school what was going on the minute she found out, so she felt responsible for the girl's death. The teacher was removed directly after the full story came out. He ended up running off, so he was never formally charged. Story 14. The physics teacher was text and sleeping with one of his students, not sure if she was 18 or not at the time. Although honestly, no one was surprised. He was a little too friendly toward the girls and changed his pants in the back of the classroom once. He ended up leaving for personal reasons over Thanksgiving break, but of course it got out. Sadly, his wife was in her 3rd trimester, which probably didn't make it any easier for her to find out her husband was sleeping with a high school student. Story 15. New kid comes to high school. Has a funny accent because his parents were missionaries, traveling all over the world. He was actually kind of cool. Spoke at least 4 different languages: English, Spanish, Russian, and Mandarin. He was super polite, and everyone liked him. Of course, he had haters, mainly the so-called bullies, a concept he never understood. Rumor began that he was well versed in many forms of martial arts. He never denied or admitted to them. One of the bullies decided to find out. He was much bigger than the new kid. New kid did everything in his power to not escalate the fight. Even took a punch from said bully. Well, guess the rumor was true. Not only did the new kid beat his ass, the bully shit himself. Most awesome thing I ever saw in high school. Story 16. So at my school, the drama teacher worked closely with one history teacher who did all the tech stuff for plays, sound, lights, etc. They spent a lot of time together, and both of them were married. The tech kids, my friends and I, always joked about them having an affair, and it turned into a school-wide rumor. We never really thought much about it, and that was 8th grade. My friends and I went on to high school and forgot about it for 3 years until a few months ago when we saw the history teacher at a football game. We went to ask him how he was doing, and the fucking drama teacher comes over and grabs his hand. We awkwardly said, "Oh, that was true, huh?" He replied with, "Yeah, we've been going out for 2 years." We ended the conversation after that. So the rumor wasn't true when it first started but ended up being true.